Welcome back to another edition of the Seed Talk podcast. I'm your host, Sterling Mack. We are super excited today, joined by Danny Cortenraede, of the founder and CEO of InStudio Ventures, also the general partner of Lead Sports. Shout out to them. Been friends of Sports Tech Atlanta for a little bit.
Great.
And you're a judge on the reality TV series Unicorn Hunters. Danny, thanks for being here. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing very well, actually. A lot of things happening, great things, momentum going on with where we're all investing in and the impact that we're creating in the industry. But again, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. It's exciting times. I think sports is in this really, really a crazy kind of boom, right? Especially sports and sports tech.
Yeah.
I'm going to start there, I think, with where like evaluations are from a team perspective, where these leagues are going from their media deals. How do you kind of look at those investments from a team perspective and really look at the short term and long term of the league itself?
Yeah, I think a great topic, right? Because we see these valuations are going up significantly, but it has a reason, right? I think if we as an investment firm, we're looking critical at these things. If you look at the NFL, there's a $110 billion media deal connected to it. All these teams get $400 million at the beginning of the year. Right. These are positive cash flow assets. I think for us as investors, we're looking to see, okay, also if you take a step back on macro level, what's all happening globally. Mm-hmm. The economy is growing at a 2.2%. That's what we expect by the end of the year. Okay. If you look at the U.S., it's growing, but also what we see what's happening here in the country, right? Europe, Germany is actually, you don't see a lot of growth happening there. Okay. We see the inflation rate at a 2% more or less. You have Asia. The thing that I'm trying to discuss here is to see, okay, what do you want as an investor? Where do you want to put your money? Right. And to see, okay, also on the long term. If you go back to these assets like the NFL, mm-hmm. again, the $110 billion media deal was connected to till 2023, right. gives us a good understanding and that we want to be part of this. Because again, for the next couple of years, we know that revenue is coming in. Yeah. Valuations went up significantly. Yes. But look, if you want to 50x your money, this is not where you need to go to. We see it more as bonds. Okay. So it's more safe. It will grow steady in the next couple of years. Still, we're very critical. We don't believe every franchise, but now we just deployed into one of the big franchises where we're very excited about. Right. But we have a total strategy for our fund, and this is a part of it, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, you talk about some of the macro and across kind of our total economy, right? If leagues are not kind of globalizing, is that something that you guys are kind of looking at? I'll use baseball, for example, right? Mm-hmm. That's very domestic. Yep. Is that something that really kind of like makes or break how you look at them from a league and a team perspective?
It's definitely part of it, right? Okay. It's the whole business case where we're looking at. But the NFL and the NBA, we know they're expanding internationally, right? As you can hear from my accent, I'm originally from Europe. Yeah. So I'm a little bit biased, but I'm happy that the leagues are also now entering Europe. Okay. We just had the games in London. I don't know if you were following it a little bit, but great. I agree what's happening over there. We see also the NBA, right, is talking, and I spoke with NBA HQ a couple months back in New York City. Mm-hmm. I was there and talking about it. People who are working there already for 13, 14 years. Right. They're talking about the European expansion already for 13, 14 years, right. But we never were that close. And I think that's great, right? We still have a couple franchises here in Vegas, what's coming up. But for us as investors, it's great that it's also going internationally, Asia, Europe, what will give us extra exposure. I think we're ready for it also in Europe. Football is something, American football is something that's not really in the culture there. So it needs a little bit more education, if that makes sense. Yeah. But if you look at the stadiums in London, and
they're full.
They're full, right? So it's I think we're ready for it. So yeah. Yeah.
No, and you talk about being at the NBA, talking at that level. You work with some big name investors as well. Yeah. How do you build that trust with these properties that are, looking for millions of dollars, right, from an investment perspective, and obviously people that want to be able to spend millions of dollars? How do you build that trust back and forth?
A great topic, right? Because that's where it starts. We're working with a lot of athletes, high net worth family offices, but also a lot of athletes. We have soccer players from overseas playing for the Premier League, for La Liga, Bundesliga, all these big leagues over there,
Okay.
but also NFL players, NBA. But let's say, for example, with NFL player Jameis Winston, that I know now
Love
for
Jameis.
a couple, yeah, he's great.
Great guy.
He's just a great human being, and
Yeah.
I like him as a person.
Yeah.
We met first at Harvard at a course where
Okay.
he joined. That shows already how he's showing up and wants to educate himself
Yeah.
in that specific space. Then we met with the family, with my wife, 2 boys, with his family, and 2 boys. So bringing the family together,
Yeah.
having just a very organic conversation, nothing about business, but just looking each other in the eyes. How are you treating your kids?
Right.
How are you talking to your wife? All these small things, but are huge, right? I think that's how the conversation and the relationship started.
Right.
And that's, for me, is relationships, right? We're people. And I think that's where it starts. And we do that with a lot of other athletes. We involving them a lot in what we're doing and
Okay.
why we're doing it. We structured it. It's called the Athlete Council. And for example, if we have a deal flow meeting, we inviting the athletes to join us. So if we go over all these deals, investing in NFL or NBA team,
Yeah.
WNBA, sports technology, listen, ask your questions. And so you really understand what's happening. If we're talking to a specific startup or we spoke with an MLS team where we potentially wanted to invest in, athletes are joining, listening to the CEO, asking the questions. After that, we jump on another call and discussing the opportunity, analyze it. And I think that's something that builds up trust,
Yeah.
opening up the doors as much as we can, and then just, share what we're doing. And that's, I think that educational part is huge. So it's a combination of a lot of factors, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Sure.
And then also the properties where you want to invest in, right? If you, with the NFL, there's much more demand than access.
Yes.
Other opportunities where we invested in, I think we're able to get our foot into the door with these exclusive off-market deals.
Right.
But it's also trust and building up the relationships. It takes a lot of time and
Yes.
effort. But it's good, yeah.
On the athlete council there, and I love that. I think there's so many athletes out there that are propositioned. People see them as this asset, right? And they come to them with so many different endeavors. When you're trying to work with some that don't have that brand name, right? Like Steph Curry is a brand name. Kevin
Yep.
Durant is a brand name.
Oh, yeah.
You've worked with Boardroom. How do you work with those that don't have that brand name to be able to utilize the power of what they are as an athlete, but to also kind of be very, conservative with the investment and with their dollars as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yes, we're working still with Kevin, right? With Kevin Durant, we're the lead investor in the boardroom. So working closely there with the team, and it's great what the guys are doing over there. But Kevin is obviously one of the biggest
Yes.
NBA players
Yeah.
out there,
Yeah.
right? What he's able to do.
And loves being on Twitter.
Yeah, look, there are only 3 people who have a lifetime deal with Nike.
Yeah.
You have Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and KD.
Okay, yeah.
Right? He has the most Olympic medals as an NBA player. Right, 2 times NBA championship.
Yeah.
There's so much more things what we can say about Kevin as a very successful person on the field, but also off the field.
Right.
And I think what he did great, right, working with Rich and the team and structure that in a very professional and thoughtful way. When he was playing, he's still playing, right?
Right.
So I think
At a high level.
At a very high level.
Yeah.
And I think the opportunity is there for the current athletes to already start doing that still when you're playing.
Right.
Obviously, your number one priority is on the field. Let's be honest about that. You cannot distract yourself, but still, if you have the chance when you're playing and having access to all these incredible opportunities, yeah, I think it's great if you can tap your toes already in it with finding the right team. I think that's crucial, right? Because we know a lot of these guys and women get so much. People want something from them, what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
But for the people who are not the KDs or the LeBrons or the Serena Williams, I believe there's a big opportunity also for them, just also because the NIL, right?
Yeah.
There's also what we see what's happening there and can already start building your brand and monetizing that. I think these days, look, we're also recording this podcast. You can do so much already. I strongly believe also we're working also with younger athletes. A guy who's 21 years old is jumping with his dad. His dad played for FC Barcelona and Bayern Munich,
Okay.
big clubs overseas. His son is playing for a club in the Netherlands. But these guys are showing up. are showing up at these moments and are part of these deal flow meetings or athlete councils, going to things when they're not playing, they're learning and exposing themselves to these kind of opportunities, and you can grow, right? You don't have to, and then do it thoughtfully again, right? Not throw your money into one deal or and because your friend says this is a good restaurant to invest in, right? Yeah, no. I think again, surrounding yourself with the right people, you can do a lot.
How you said NIL there, and it just kind of my ears kind of perked up because it's a huge buzzword. Obviously now private equity is coming into college sports. How should kids that are, one, I think there's a lot of numbers that are, people don't understand who's getting money and who's not getting money, right? It's only a small percentage of kids that are actually making money from an NIL perspective. But how should you talk about that, like the power of what they have being so young? How would you kind of advise somebody who's looking for kind of what you're doing at InStudio Ventures, right? Of finding that path and being like, hey, there's so much out here from a sports tech perspective, so much out here from a sports property perspective. What would you kind of tell a kid that's like going to Kentucky or Ohio State about what they should be looking for as they kind of navigate this world?
Yeah, look, I think what I just said, just if you are, 17, 18, 20 years old, and if I'm also now sitting down with these athletes and they are smart, they are asking the right questions. I don't know if I was asking the same questions at that age. No, right? No, right. So I also need to be honest about that. I think they are at a great level already and hungry to learn, and they want to expose them to also the entrepreneurial investor space and understand it. And look, if you then can do something in the sports technology space where you already devoted your whole life into that, you understand, because the number one rule for investing, you need to understand it, right? You cannot touch something. Also, if somebody is pitching me in a biotech or fintech, we will not touch it. It's not where we can add value. This is not what we are doing already for many, many years with all the general partners. And I think that also goes back if you're 18, 19, 20 years old. I think a great age to test a lot and surround yourself again with the right people. But again, so much opportunities these days there. And let's go to meetings. We did a program with Fanatics in the boardroom in New York.
Yeah, I just saw that.
You saw that? So that was I thought it was an amazing program for 2.5 days. 15 athletes flew in, right? It was all taken care of. NFL players, NBA, NHL. A program 2.5 days about entrepreneurship, innovation, AI. In the evening, a dinner with Michael Rubin. Then another program the day after, a dinner with David Solomon, the CEO from Goldman Sachs, one of the biggest financial leaders in the industry. Of course. George Harris was there. So you're putting these top athletes with top executives in the same room, no egos, nor everyone is just talking and asking questions. And if you see what's happening there, that's magic. And I think also, to go back to your point, if you have the opportunity to join these kind of programs and things where you can expose yourself to these amazing people who've already on a level. Then just ask questions, right? Be open, be not afraid to put yourself out there. And a lot of things can happen. Yeah,
I think that's the hardest thing is these kids, you've grown up with certain people for a long time or, people are grabbing you at a young age as you're like going to these Adidas camps or Nike's camps. It's a difficult thing. So, I think that's great advice for those out there. Surround yourself with the right people. To your point, you said that, like, understand what you're investing in, understand some of these deals. I want to switch a little bit to the media side. I know you're also a part of that a little bit as well from an athlete perspective. How do you see athletes kind of using the media to kind of further what their brand is, but also kind of to almost be deal flow, right? To kind of source some of these deals that they're kind of finding.
That's an interesting question because we know a lot of athletes working with them. We strongly believe there's an opportunity for all these athletes now from a branding perspective. What makes it sometimes a little bit challenging is the number one priority is still on the field. So to put a lot of time in all kind of other things, not everyone is open for that, if that makes sense, and want to spend the time. Sometimes also a little bit protective about sharing their private life, and because sometimes the media wants to open up as much as possible to show to show real,
all of what you are. Right?
And not everyone is open for that. So sometimes we see that's a little bit of a challenge. because they say, okay, if I perform on the best level on the field, the rest will follow. So let me just focus on this. I don't want to be too much on all these kind of things. Not for everyone, don't get me wrong. I still think if you have the chance to do it very thoughtfully, again with the right partner there, and I think Jamie's is a great example how he did his media. Right, he's also a character. He can do it in a great way, and not everyone is like that.
Yeah. He's never found a mic that he didn't want to be next to.
Right? He had more views than the Super Bowl last year, right? So it's insane what this guy is doing, and we will also have a career after his in media, and because of his personality. But again, you don't have to be all the Jamies of this world. I think also if it's close to you, it's really it fits with your values. Yeah. I think it's a great opportunity to do something, or sometimes maybe if you have some time, join a podcast or do something else that makes sense and share your story. People are interested in it. They would love to learn more about. I don't know if business and investing is something that you love to do. Share the story. What are you learning? How are you approaching it? And that's something where we sometimes also helping connect the dots. Again, our core is investing. Right. But with my background also in media, and we have some great relationships there and helping connecting the dots.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things now where media can really kind of bolster what your brand is, especially when you're so young at that 18 to 20 kind of year old kind of phase as you get in, especially at college, the college sports, right? I played baseball, so baseball is not this like revenue sport on the college perspective, but if you're able to kind of go make your brand a little bit bigger, then you're attracting, to your point, kind of what you want to get into, and if business and investing is there for you. So I think it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, it works. And the brands are all looking, right? They will look at your socials. Exactly. If you have 350,000 or 1 million, and how's your engagement, and how much time are you, and you can do a lot with that. So I'm convinced I'm on the same page there.
Yeah. I want to go into, you talk about kind of your pillar is investing, and something that is huge right now are emerging leagues, specifically like on the women's side, right? So how are you looking at those expansion leagues, Unrivaled? Obviously the NWSL is higher valuations, more teams kind of coming in. How do you look at those kind of properties, and what are you seeing from a women's sports perspective?
Yeah, we believe in women's sports. Let me start with that. Right. And I already believed from it when it was not cool. Yeah. Right. The women, the Serena Williams from this world, already were performing on the highest level. Right. So it's not that only from my perspective the economics didn't make sense. Yeah. So that's now changing. So that makes it an interesting investment. So we're looking closely at it to take a step back. So for this specific fund, we're looking at a couple of things. So we will have premium assets in there, like the NFL or the NBA. Sure. At the flip side, we're looking at emerging leagues. Okay. WNBA, NWSL, CLGP, all these things that are coming up. More risk, but potentially also higher return. The rest is sports technology. Okay. Infrastructure, data, very important. Yeah. And then you create almost your own ecosystem that works together. If you look into that emerging league bucket, the WNBA, look, I think before this podcast we were talking a little bit about it, right? So we have 3 deals where we're looking at. Interesting. It all comes down to the specifics in the specific market. Right. To be fully transparent, look, we will not lead a deal like this. It's a lot of money, right? So only an expansion fee is $250 million. So we will join there with strategics. So we have built up a strong network with all kind of people and team owners where we can join. And together make a strategic group and then go into a WNBA team, if that makes sense. Sure. But yeah, look, again, the league is still losing money. I think last year was 40-50 million. But if you look at the viewership, it's going up. I don't think it's just a cultural thing. Sometimes people asking you that, right? Is it because Caitlin Clark? Is that? I think it's sustainable on the long term. If you look at the deals, what's happening on the media deals, NBA was 76 billion. Yes. The WNBA was 2.2, right? Part of that. And WSL, on the top of my head, 2019, the viewership went up with 500%. So we see it's growing. But we need to also see when are the times? Is it consistent? I think there's still a lot of question marks. Also, that media deal went up, I think, with 40x. If you compare that, it was now 240 million, so 60 million per year in that specific deal. So we see great things are happening. Bob Iger, 250 million for Angel City here in LA.
Yeah.
Evaluations going up quite significantly, but we are bullish. We want to be part of it with the right partners.
Right.
That's an important one, and with the right team, because you want to have enough corporate sponsorships who are coming in. It's chicken egg story, right? Eyeballs are going up. Corporate sponsorships are willing to pay more. How can we make sure there are enough corporate sponsors? And then the media rights and all these other things, because the corporate sponsorships that for the women's sports is almost 40-50%, sometimes even 60% of the revenue.
Right.
With men, that's lower.
Yeah.
So it's 25-30%. So that's a big.
It's a big gap.
So you want to see, okay, what's happening with these sponsorships? How often are they renewing? What do you see is happening there? So much more details under the hood where we're looking critical. But again, excited about the space. We will put money to work there. We already did a couple of things in women's sports, but there will more follow.
That's awesome. I mean, I agree. I think as you started that, I've been very bullish on women's sports. I don't say bullish. I just love sports, right? And I love people doing it at the highest level. Yeah. And I think from a basketball perspective, something that I don't think is talked about enough is you get to see these women for 4 years, right? The Jujus, the Paiges, the Caitlins, the Angel Reeses. Yeah. And so then all of a sudden you're able to kind of track them, where we don't really have that on the NBA side, actually, which is so interesting. You talk about the viewership. The NBA viewership and WNBA viewership is fairly close, actually. I don't think a lot of people know that. Yeah. And the reason for that, I believe, is because you're able to see these women play in college. You're able to follow them, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll check in if they're playing. I'm already clicked into Prime, right? And the game's already on. And so I think we're going to continue to see that success. And then I think Unrivaled is a cool thing too. Just having basketball at another time there is a great way to kind of see it. But
and I think good also for the WNBA and just having another league there. I think that's a great thing. So I don't know. We're happy to be part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I'll get you out of here on this one. Just on the youth pillars. I just kind of did a blog about this. I feel like there's so much. I called it like the Moneyball kind of effect. Right. There's so many aspects going into youth sports. One, to kind of democratize how expensive it is, right? But also the fact that, to your point about emerging leagues and women's sports, all these new technologies are going into like volleyball and soccer. So how are you all at InStudio with your venture looking at youth sports, and what does that look like from an investing perspective?
Yeah, look, I have 2 little boys myself, so I'm happy that we can make a difference there as a dad, right? Just to I think you can be proud cool. and not just chasing some dollars. Yeah. Of course, that's our number one priority, but we also want to create impact, and that's, to your point, women's sports, youth sports. I know also how expensive it can be if you're playing club or you want to do it on a professional level. Not everyone is able to do that. Right. Also here in Los Angeles, I'm also a board member of the LA Sports Council. Right. That's also a discussion that we're having also with the LA 84 group or other partners here locally. How can you make it more accessible? And that's definitely one of the most important things, right? Just because sports, it's a great thing, right? Yeah. It's good for so many things, mentally, physically, the team aspect. You see the kids are just learning, and so I think the making it more accessible is one of the things. The sports technology side is connected to that, right? Data, if you compare that with the professional leagues, the tier ones, where we're all looking at and where a lot of things are happening. But I think that part in youth sports is still a big opportunity to, what kind of technique can we use on that level to measure it more, and also the wearables. We have some opportunities coming in on that front. And we're working with a couple key partners now to make their a bigger step forward, and that also includes a real estate play, if that makes sense.
It does.
There's a better way to use that and do that in a smarter way and make it smart.
Josh Harrison, those guys just did that around in Virginia. There's been so many real estate as an asset, I think, is huge, specifically within youth sports.
Yeah. So there's a combination where we're looking at, and that's a piece of the fund.
Okay, that's awesome, man. Well, Danny, thank you so much for being here. This was awesome. I know, to your point, we were going to connect to the LA Sports Council and didn't make it happen. So thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Seed Talk podcast. You can find me at SteveMac. You can find us at Seed Talk Podcasts on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. And we'll see you in the next edition of the Seed Talk podcast.